Were you surprised that Justin Garrett wasn't able to go?
We were disappointed. We weren't totally surprised. His foot has been just sort of a strange thing. You know, it'll feel good one day, and all of a sudden you turn on it the wrong way, and the strain on it comes back in. If we'd had to play, we could have. But he wasn't full speed, and probably mentally or physically. So we just felt like Robinson was playing really well. The only problem is he probably had to play too many snaps. He was on every coverage team and special teams, and played every defensive snap almost to about the end of the fourth quarter, and had to try to get him off the field, give him a blow. But that was the only thing, and hopefully that thing will clear up soon. But it's just kind of one of these things day to day.
Coach, you feel your secondary got a good workout Saturday night?
Yeah, and we played a high percentage of man coverage. Just felt like you almost have to against that style of offense. When we did mix zone coverage, we got a pick on one of them. We should have had one on another one. We dropped. But you cannot play a high percentage of zone because they are extremely good at finding the space in zone coverage. So that was tough duty for our secondary. It's a thin group. Our depth has been decimated by different issues. It's harder to play man coverage than zone most of the time from a standpoint of conditioning because you have to finish every play and chase somebody. It's just a little bit more difficult. But I just thought they were outstanding. We didn't have an interference penalty. I thought the referees did a good job with both sides of that on both teams. Didn't have an interference penalty, didn't have a holding penalty. Had 3 interceptions, probably dropped 2 others. We really felt like we had a 4th one. Mincy, felt like he caught that ball, but coach had just went time of the game to challenge it with the situation with our timeouts and everything. So I just think they just did an outstanding job. During the course of the game, we felt frustrated about the amount of pressure we were getting on the quarterback, but as we looked at the film, he was throwing the ball very quickly at times. We were a step or 2 away. A couple other times as we were peeling our defensive ends on the backs, releasing out of the backfield, it took away some of our pressure. So toward the end, we started leaving the linebackers on the backs, and we started getting some pressure with 4 guys. So that wasn't as bad as we thought. And I don't mean to get off your subject. The only thing that's really disappointing is we didn't stop the run well when we were playing with 2 high safeties, and that was as much our fault, my fault with the plan. We should have adjusted it a little more quickly, changed it up a little bit with what we were doing. I think they kind of found an itchy spot and started scratching, and although that's not their deal, it was effective for them.
Now let's talk about Montrevious for his first college game. How did he play for you?
Really good, and I didn't realize it was his first snap, but his very first snap, was the one we had tackled for loss in the backfield. So he has really struggled at times in practice, getting lined up, busted assignments, mental errors. But when you have a game plan, you sort of settle into, you take a lot of stuff in, but as the first, second quarter ends, you sort of settle into what you got to play. And as it got thinned down a little bit and simplified, and Rodney was able to play those young freshmen quite a bit, I just thought he played outstanding for the first time ever in a college football game. He probably showed up as much as anybody in that whole front, disruption in the running game and pressure on the quarterback.
You think about, obviously he's a freshman, but give him more snaps, maybe start him, anything like that?
We'll have to see. Probably judging on what kind of week of practice he has. There was a lot of good performances by the young guys. I think he had the fewest mental errors, and he certainly physically played well. But I don't know that we'll switch that right now.
How about the linebackers as a whole?
Pretty average. The thing we were playing so much dime package, Casanova didn't play with 19 snaps. My other Will linebackers got no snaps. Jake and Frost split the reps at Mike linebacker. I think Frost probably had a little more production, but he had a couple of mental assignments that Jake didn't have. But it was a type of ball game, where either your pass rush showed up or your coverage showed up. And not that they weren't involved in both, but it wasn't one of those games where the ball was, around them a whole lot. I was disappointed in some of the things they did against the run, but they weren't always the problem. We had some busted stunts. We had some other fit issues that weren't linebackers. But I thought their play against the run was, B-, C+. Got to improve. But it's hard, like I said, we were playing 6 DBs, vast majority of the game. They weren't even, the Will linebackers not even on the field.
So you guys played Cam Carter inside. Played Cam Carter inside Saturday night. He's still available to play in
You
too?
know, I'd say right now, we're still sort of in a musical chairs with Jeff gone. We kind of need him inside. With D Ford, we kind of need him outside. As the young players improve, Elijah and Carl got a lot more snaps than Elijah. I think Elijah only got 3 snaps. They made some mistakes, typical freshman mistakes. As they get better, the season rolls along, we'll probably have the luxury to move Kenny inside when we need to. Rodney feels like that possibly when we can substitute on obvious passing downs, he's probably one of our best interior rushers. So there'll be some rotation in there. One good thing I think we're developing up front is some real quality depth. And when we get D back here in a couple of weeks and get Jeff back and a few more after that, if we can get them all back healthy again, I think it'd be a really strong point for us.
D, one of those guys, just try and get him back by the SEC opener, MSU?
Well, we don't know. It's a medical decision.
Right.
You know, if we're certainly not good enough to hold anybody that can be a great player and help us on a given day. But right now, it's all on rehabilitation and when they're ready physically.
What do you see at Arkansas State? They have a bunch of rushing yards. Are they a running first team?
They're a good team. They're very, very similar to us, our offense. And I think our preparation will be easier because of that. They're certainly not a one-dimensional team. They did not throw the ball very much last week, but they didn't have to. They had 4 different guys, went over 100 yards. I think 3 different guys had runs over 50 yards. Something that was phenomenal. But they got up so quickly and so fast, the backups are playing somewhere in the 3rd quarter. They have 2 or 3 skill guys that can really run. They run as well as anybody we have. But it's a similar operation, some of the same formations, some of the same motions. There are not a lot of things on that first ball game with their shifting and so forth, but there's, you know, coming from Texas and Boise State, the head football coach, there's a lot of tight ends in the formations that we don't normally use here. So it's kind of a combination of the 2. We're trying to work our preparation off of Texas film and Arkansas State film.
Ellis, how do you think Robinson played overall? And once Justin Garrett comes back, is there any situation in your base where Justin and Robinson could be on the field at the same time, or is that just not?
Could be. We're probably not at a point of figuring something like that right now. We just like to get him healthy. It's been frustrating. You know, we talked about the player being one of the most dynamic players in the spring, and there's no production on the game field. And it's been going on for 2 years now. So we just like to get him healthy and get him on the field and find out if he can play. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. You know, I thought Robinson played outstanding. You know, he is really, it's taken him a while to get comfortable out there at the position. No question about it, the style of game that they were playing played to his strength. He's a better cover guy of the 2. Justin's a better blitzer, a little bit better probably run support, but probably just about the same in zone coverage. But the high percentage of man-to-man we played, I could have seen probably Robinson play more whether Justin was healthy or not.